Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 9. I'm on version 9.10 on a Windows 11 machine, if that makes any difference. But anyhow, good to see everyone here, and I want to thank everyone for sending your images in to edit. The purpose here is to show you my workflow for editing photos and some of the tools that I use in DxO Photolab. So you're kind of just, I think one of the best ways to learn is just to look over someone's shoulder, virtually in this case, on how they use the specific tool or photo editor, in this case DxO. But that said, I am grateful to everyone coming here every week and submitting your images. It's good practice for me as well, and hopefully you pick up a few ideas and tips along the way. I usually do something, at least one thing new every stream that maybe I haven't done before, and I only can do that when I run across something I want to do in the editing process. So that's why I like these live streams. Is I feel like they're very comprehensive over time to really getting to know the tool inside and out, instead of these like short 10-minute videos that are just kind of drive-bys and don't really get you into the software or get to know it as well as I think you can. And as always, I am an affiliate for DxO, so you can use my affiliate links down below to download and get your own copy if you haven't done so yet, or you want to upgrade. And if you're a new customer, I have a 15% discount code to help you shave off some of the costs. But DxO is my favorite photo editing software by far. I use it for 99% of all my editing, with very, very rare exceptions. So that said, good to see Jeff and John, Henning, Heather, good to see you. And let me every 2 or 3 photos I'll stop and answer any questions in the chat section, but I do see one here right off the bat from Henning. I've noticed some strange behavior in DxO Photolab 9 with Nikon RAW files. Whenever I enable global clear view, the photos get a noticeable red cast. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so uh, maybe if you submitted an image that's happening to, I can look at that. If you haven't, go ahead and submit it now, and we'll look at it towards the end and see what the problem may be. I suspect it is a color management issue, and I've noticed this, in my own editing and exporting. So, if you could be a little more specific, is the redshift happening during the editing process, or is it happening on the export in the JPEG file that you see? Uh, and I got my computer pretty much color managed, but I still have some issues. So I may or may not see it on my computer, but I'll be happy to take a look for you. I then have to correct the color adjustment slider. Okay. I haven't really come across it because, I don't shoot my Nikon that often, but it's best if you send me your image that you think it's happening to. Uh, that way everything is, we're seeing the exact same thing. Okay, going to an exhibition, my first, oh, nice, week with 24 of my own photos. Hope I get sales. That's awesome. I'm going to one this weekend, tomorrow, actually. Someone in my photo club is getting her photos displayed at some cafe or coffee shop, and they're having a little thing, and it's running for the whole month, but tomorrow's kind of I guess, the big deal. So it's always exciting to have your photos, recognized, no matter how small or big, um, because it just feels good, right? I mean, the editing I'm going to be doing today, the images you submit, it's not a contest. Like I said, this is about learning Photoshop. But first thing I want to do is I want to share a dragonfly image from last week. At the last second after I ended the stream, Shakib sent his edit in. And I always like to compare your edits with mine. So if you've edited your photo, you can upload them now and we can compare what you did compared to what I did. Ideally without any influence from me, because it's your photo and your vision, and it's really great to see what you guys do with your photo. I'm just here to help you with some of the tools and workflow in Photolab. So let me do that first. And I'm just going to double check my settings here. See, my webcam is off. Okay, good. All right. So is this photo here? I'm going to set this as a reference, and I'm going to try and figure out which one was my edit versus yours. I think Shakib normally puts his logo on there, right? So this must be my edit here. And there's the, well, let's see. Let me, I'm going to hit the F9 key on my keyboard just to expand the panels out. And yeah, very nice. Very nice. Shakib always puts a nice little border and logo on his. I think the major difference here is just mine is warmed up a little bit. And also I think that I did a little bit more sharpening as well. As you can see, like in the fine hairs, you know, when you over sharpen, you get a little bit of haloing when you punch in like this. Versus you can see Shakib did not do the same sharpening that I did. But there's always a trade-off, right? Because if you look really close, there's just tiny bit of artifacts here. But that's not how we look at photos, right? We look at them like this. So mine is just basically a little warmer, a little sharper, but very similar edit otherwise. So thank you, Shakib, for sending in your edit. So let's go ahead and get started with the editing. And I'm going to go over here. So right now I'm in the photo library. So I selected the folder that I want to edit. And now I selected a photo, and then I just click on Customize. And that'll bring up the photo editing panel here, and then we have our individual panels up here for different things. Now, before I do anything else, I always look at the overall composition, the exposure, the white balance, and I try to make some major global changes that way first, because if I make any geometric changes like straighten the horizon or keystoning errors where the picture needs to be kind of, you know, crunched at the bottom, the local adjustments don't follow these changes in geometry. So it's important you always do any kind of geometric changes first, i.e. the composition. And then I like to do exposure and white balance also just to get a feel for colors and everything before I start actually editing, you know, sharpening, contrast, white balance, things like that. Okay, so I do feel like there needs to be a slight horizon shift here. Another thing I like to do is I have a preset that I made that applies optical corrections from the DxO optics module, as well as a little bit of sharpening and denoising. So the DxO Deep Prime and the optical module are core technologies, which is from Photo DxO that I feel like give this, you know, makes DxO the superior photo raw editor. So I apply those things first to my images, and I made a preset. And I have, I think, 3 or 4 presets I've uploaded to my website that you can download for free if you want to use them. But we'll go here, and I'm just going to apply, say, my Rob Trek default. I also have an extra sharp, and then I have one designed for high resolution files created with the high-res shot mode in OM system cameras, and it works well with other high-resolution cameras like an A7R5. But generally, this is for OM system cameras, high-res shot mode. So I'm going to apply this preset, and you can see it did apply an optical correction. It got rid of vignetting. We did a little sharpening. And the white balance a little bit uh, cool for me. I want to warm it up because we do have some shadows down here. So the camera looks like it just set it for um, just a daylight white balance, which is perfectly fine for a natural image. But I always like to get a little creative in my editing. So I want to straighten this horizon a little bit. So usually I like to go over here to the geometry panel and just click perspective and see what happens. And that I would say 50-50, it does a good job, right? Half the time it's perfect, the other half of the time it's off a little, and sometimes I have to make some additional adjustments or disable it completely. But I'm going to just crop in a little bit. And what the other thing on my preset is I have the crop mode set to auto. So what it does is it automatically crops in for you when you make geometric changes. So that's another thing in my preset that the default presets that you get from DxO does not do. So this is what I like to do. But when I uncrop it, I want to see if I maybe cropped off the top of this sign, which I did not. It was already cut out. So I'm going to go ahead there. And now that we have the basic geometry done, I'm going to look at the composition for the standard composition rules. I don't overthink it. Well, sometimes I do, but I like simply rule of thirds, leading lines, and layering, right? These are the three things I mainly look for. Is there something I can kind of position the negative space in the rule of thirds? You know, put the subject in one of the crosshairs or create a nice negative space. Also, I like to think about uh, leading lines. So we have kind of a leading line here with the sidewalk. And also we have some layering, right? We have a set of steps here in one layer, a set of steps here, and then the grass in the foreground is another layer. And I would even say the background. So there's almost like 4 layers here that I need to think about. And for me, this composition, I think will work better as a landscape or horizontal crop, mainly because there's not much going on down here. And this line doesn't really lead you into the frame as much as, you know, I don't get that feeling like you're stepping into the frame. So what I want to do, what I like about this image more than this leading line here is the layering. So I'm going to work with that and then use these lines to help you lead you into the frame versus say this line, which is just a little off center. And it feels kind of awkward, right? It feels like you're walking half on the grass, half on the sidewalk. And again, these are all very subjective opinions. I'm not making any judgments or criticizing the photo. Again, it's your photo, it's your vision. But I like to edit the photos as you know, as if they were my own and what I would do. Um, so initially I'm thinking sort of a horizontal crop like this. Now, when I go in and manually make adjustments, the auto turns off and it goes into manual mode. So a 3x2 is not going to work. Let me try a 1x1 and see if that gets me more of the frame that I want. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, now I have my rule of thirds grid. So this side is kind of empty. We have some layering in here, and then we have leading lines over here on the right. So that's not bad. I kind of like that. I think that works. Now we have almost the whole sidewalk in the frame. And then we have lines here. So we have 2 ways that bring you into the frame or bring you into this nice layering. I'm just going to do a quick look at a black and white as well. I think this will work well as a black and white because we do have some green and blues, but I would say they're not really complementing each other too well in this situation. I could try and just boost the color a bit. I'm in the color panel right now. I'm just going to oversaturate it and see if there's something here versus a black and white. I think black and white will make it more dramatic. What I'll need to do is maybe do some channel mixing down here to adjust the greens and the blues, but I want to bring out the textures and the layering here in this cement. So let's go ahead and switch to black and white, and then I have some different rendering profiles I can try. Faded, balanced, strong, and neutral. I'm going to start with strong. I just like very punchy images, contrasty, and I'm going to try and emphasize more of the textures in the cement. And I'm going to try and separate the grass a little more from, because the tones here are very similar, right? The illuminance. So that's why when I was looking at this in color, you kind of get an eye for color and luminance and how it'll look when you go to black and white. And I knew right away that the luminance here between these two are not going to be too distinct. So I'm going to try and do that with the channel mixer by pulling in the yellows and greens, like so. And this is something you don't see me do very often in a live stream. So this is, we'll call this one of the new things that I do, or maybe showing you. Now we have this very bright blue sky up here, so maybe I'll try and brighten that by pushing the blues up. Or I can go darker. No, I think going brighter, somewhere in this range here, works pretty well. Now, just for curiosity, I want to show you what happens when I go back to color. You can see I've pretty much gotten rid of all of the color, but have only adjusted the luminance of the color, so to speak, when we go to a black and white mode. So I think this works. And what I'm going to do is try and brighten up the front layer here, and then darken this layer here a little bit, and then darken the grass even a little more. So let's use a control line and just come up to about here. We'll select the grass. Let me tighten up the chroma masking, or loosen it up a little bit. Yeah, let's loosen that up. And then we'll just use the selective tones to make this even darker, like so. And whenever I use selective tones, I try to keep a straight line in the tone curve to give me, if you look at a histogram, I'm sorry, a tone curve graph, you would get kind of an S pattern when you do it this way. And that, I think, looks the most natural, as opposed to, if you have crisscrossing lines, things can look kind of weird sometimes. So let me put this back to where it was. Something about like that looks good. And I'll just push this up a bit. Okay, good. I'm going to do the same thing with this patch here. But this patch, let me make a new mask. I'll probably have to use either the auto masking brush or the AI tool. Let me try AI tool here. Yeah, let's do that. And I hit the shift key on my keyboard and continued to click to make additional selections. And you'll see I have the main mask here and a sub mask here. And I'll do the same thing on here. Let me just pull it in a bit. Like so. Something in this range. Okay. That looks good. Okay, let me brighten up the sidewalk. So let me make a new mask. And we'll just give this a little bit more light. Like so. I think that works. And I'm going to add some texture via micro contrast. Oh, here it is. Maybe some clear view. No, we don't need clear view. I think micro contrast will be enough. And I want to select this whole thing. Let me see if I can do that with this. And I'm going to make a new mask. I'm going to start up here and just try and grab this. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. This AI tool is really good at grabbing things sometimes. Sometimes I have to do it manually, like with the shift and click, but this object was a pretty easy slice. So I'm going to increase the contrast. And just add a little bit more contrast manually with the tones. All right, that's good. Now I'm just going to make this side a little bit brighter. And then this a little bit darker back here. So I'm going to make a new mask. Let's try the AI tool again. See if I can get just the front here. So this and this. And we'll just push the highlights and midtones maybe. And then pull in the shadows a tiny bit. And then let's make a new mask, and I'm going to select this. Let's go with this layer, this, and this. And again, I'm just doing shift and click to get all of those together in one mask right here. And I think, let me see if I can go just a little darker. Let's go this way. I don't want to lose the highlights. Okay, let's try a little more. It might be too much, but I like the tones. I'm just going to just pull the opacity back. All right, that's good. I think this whole building needs to be a little bit lighter though. So I'm going to go back to my building mask and let's just do a simple push on the exposure. Okay, now I'm gonna go back. I'm only going to work with the crop. Uh, because I want this line to be, I want this line to come right in from the corner. See how far I can get. And then I have about 1/3 right here, 1/3 for this wall. That's working. And then 1/3 for the sidewalk and bush. So that to me has pretty decent balance. I think I'll call it there. Okay. So I'm going to click here and just compare this image with the original. So I need to go up here and tell it what to compare it with. I'm going to hit the F9 key. I feel like I should crop a little bit off, a little more here. Let me try 4x5 or 4x3 maybe. And let's just come in. Yeah, I think that's better. All right, we'll call it there. So Yeah, I think it's very striking in black and white, and I did my best to emphasize the layering of the steps and bring out the textures in the cement, and uh, and then try to create some balance with, the structure, because it was my original crop, it was a little bit too heavy on the right side, but now it's a little bit more balanced, I think. But okay, very good. Thank you, John, for sending that one. Oh, we don't need this anymore, so let me delete that. And we'll go over here. Oh, that's Shakab's edit there. Sorry. Let's go to this next one. I'm going to delete this one. Okay. So F9 key. All right, so we have some woodland here, some nice verticals. And John, if I recall, prefers color. So I'm going to try and keep it color this time. And I think we can make it work because we can kind of separate these very, very slight hint of reds and yellows against the green, I think. And there's some reds and yellows in the grass as well. So be a little tricky, but I think I can do it. And then this image here is all about the textures and the layering of the small trees, right? These skinny trees. So I'll see if I can maintain that feeling of depth as well. We'll see. These are always tough for me, these kinds of images, but let me do what I always do and apply my default preset. And I'm just going to eyeball it in black and white real quick. Okay. All right. Yes. So this is what I mean. But if I'm not going to do black and white, but this would be a really hard one to do in black and white because the luminance between the trees and the grass are so similar. It'd be hard to separate these. But in color, it's very easy to separate. Uh, well, it should be. We'll see. Okay. I think composition wise, let me just adjust the exposure temporarily and see if I need to balance this because it's a little bit light on this right side. So I'm going to crop off this and just stay right in here. So let me do that first. And we're going to come down. Now we have this tree in the center, which is kind of splitting the scene into a left and right. I'm not sure I like that. The other thing I can do, let me go 5x4. And see if I can do, maybe, I think that works. Because now we have a little bit off center here, which is fine. And then a good balance left and right. Because of the background, you notice is very dark back here. Now I forced it because I used a selective tone. But ultimately, that's how I'm going to create depth, is by using tones, right? The luminance, in other words. So I'm just going to, I might keep this all the way dark. Maybe I should do it with local adjustments. I think local adjustments will work better. So let me use a control line. And I want the foreground to be a little brighter and then gradually get darker. So I'm going to start right about here. And I'm going to move this to what I think is the darkest part. right, right in there. Okay, good. And we'll tighten up the luminosity. I might erase a little bit in here, but let's work with that for now. And just pull this in. Maybe I got it wrong on the luminosity. That's fine. Let's go with that. Let's pull the chroma all the way in. Maybe bring this down a bit more. I'm going to create, I might have to do a separate. Let's start with that. I'm going to have to think about this some more. Okay, let's bring out the trees a little bit. So again, I think a control line will be, so make a new mask. Let me start here, because these are about the right brightness down here, but up here, I'm going to, this time I'm going to tighten up the chroma or color. And the luminance. I think that'll work. Okay, let me soften it a bit. I'm going to try and soften. I'm going to turn the micro contrast down. Okay, let me add a submask. Let's go in this direction. See if I can get just a little bit more. And I'm going to try and shift the white balance a bit. Let me check my masking. Yeah, we're still good. And just introduce a little bit of red in here and yellows. Okay. I'm going to go back to my previous control line. Let's cool this side off. All right. I'm going to go over here to the overall white balance. Just globally adjust this. This just feel, whoops. I want this to be a little bit greener. Okay. We're getting there. So this control line, I need a little bit more in the tones. I'm going to adjust my eyedropper a bit. Okay. And I'll go back to my trees. Adjust my eyedropper until it gets to about what I like. Okay. Okay, this bottom part's a little bit too warm because I did that global thing. So let me make a new submask and just adjust for that right in here. And we'll just cool it off a little bit and maybe just add a little bit of light. Let's go this way. All right, I'm gonna check my crop one more time. Just come over here. All right, I think we're almost there. Let me just do a little bit of extra light painting with a brush. I'm gonna use the auto masking brush. Let's make a new mask. And I'm just gonna just brighten up the leaves here a little bit. And I'm just clicking and moving the mouse, nothing fancy. Add a little bit of warmth. All right, good, right about there. Then I'm gonna erase a little bit here. Let me turn my flow up. And then let's add some up here. So here. And just brighten those up a bit. Come down this tree. Come down that tree. And this tree. This tree. And I'm just hitting the control key and the wheel on my mouse to adjust the size of the brush. I'll just come up that tree. And that tree. A little bit there and there. A little bit in here. Just give it a little extra push. All right, one more mask. I'm just going to darken in here a little bit more. All right. Oh, sorry. I need to back up a little bit. Let's just do a little extra pull. All right. All right, now let me go back to the global sharpening. This is the detail panel. I just want to soften the image a bit. Let me zoom in and see. I'm waiting for this to render. I set my computer down to low power mode because I was having some memory crashing problems, so it's taking a little longer than usual. Ah, there we go. All right, that softened it a little bit. It was just a little bit too crunchy, right? And then let me back off this a little bit, and I think we're done. Let me just check my local adjustments one more time. Okay. All right, we'll call it there. So I'm going to compare this without the geometric corrections. So I'm hitting the escape key just to finish the editing. But okay, yeah, there's the original. And it just felt like, there was the image just felt a little flat, right? Because it's a cloudy day and we're not getting that sense of depth. Uh, although it's here, right? We can see it in the grass. So I just wanted to try to recreate that depth or feeling of depth in the image here on the right in my editing. And I think it came out okay. It's not great, but I think whoops, if I do a split with the geometry, just to give you a feel for this is kind of flat. Now this feels like it has some depth or 3 dimensions, right? I should probably darken a little bit back in here. But other than that, I think we're okay. Okay, very good. Um, let's do one more. I do see the chat filling up, but I'm going to do one more edit, then I'll get to the chat. So let's go ahead and customize this one. Hit the F9 key. So let's apply my preset. I'm going to try and get through these next ones pretty quick. Was this a fisheye? Oh, the 8mm fisheye. So fisheye lenses, I like the distortion that a fisheye gives, so I typically turn this off. Or you can kind of just adjust it a little bit if you want to correct it just a little bit, but I think I'll just keep it off completely. So we have a starburst here, we have a sky, which is going to have plenty of details there because you did dial in a -1, and we just have to bring out the face a little bit and drama to the sky, and that's about it. I think a slight horizon shift wouldn't hurt. All right, let's go to local adjustments and select this cow. I think it's a cow. I'm not 100% sure. So shift and click to add these tags. Let's start from the bottom. I think there, yeah, right in there. Maybe not quite that much. And let's do a little bit more to this guy. I think this just needs a little bit of a push. Just a little bit. All right, let me go back to this guy. I'm going to make a new mask. Let's work on his eye. And see what I can get out of that. Ooh, a little bit. Good. Good, good, good. All right. I don't think there's an eye over here. I can't tell. I don't know if I'm looking at the back end or the front end here. So we'll just leave it. All right, let me darken the sky a little bit now, and then I need to come back to this guy. So I'm just going to use the AI tool to select the sky. Just add some clear view. I want to try to get that asterisk, or I'm sorry, this starburst. And all right, let's go back to this cow. Maybe just a global push. I'm going to add a little bit of warmth. I think that the entire image needs some warmth. So I'm going to go to the color panel. Okay, go back. All right, let me just add a little bit of light down here. And some warmth. Might be too much. Let me see. Okay. All right, so the original, maybe a little more color in the eye, but uh, I think that's all we need to do without getting too carried away with the editing. All we really had to do is just bring out the shadows, right? So we could see the face and the eye, and then try and balance that with the seam. But I think that works pretty well. All right. Let me go to the chat section and see. Heather says, my group volunteered to take photos of local parks for the county. How do I export to meet the requirement JPEG format 32 to 3500 pixel on the short side? Oh, that's pretty simple. So if I wanted to export this image, right? So I go over here, I select the export to disk, and then, oops, you're not seeing my screen, sorry. Let me start over. So let's say I want to export this image for the park, right? So you go over here, you export to disk, and then I would select like 92 to 95%. 93 is a good number as any, select your folder. Uh, you can rename it. You don't need to rename it, but you might want to rename it as -4 the park, like that. Uh, Set your DPI to 300 in case they decide to print, then that spec will be in there. It doesn't affect the image quality at all. It's just simply some printers might use that number. Then you want to click Enable Resizing. And then the spec was JPEG format 32 to 3500 on the short side. So that's what you do. You just select here the shortest side. And then, yeah, this is something I do for my clients. I export at 3000 pixels, but you would put, say, 3200. And then just select regular bicubic. I wouldn't do bicubic sharper because I don't want it to be too crispy, right? Because we're already doing sharpening during our editing process. So I just select bicubic. You want to make sure you select sRGB as the export. You can turn this off if you're having color problems. What this does is that sometimes colors are really saturated to the point that you start to lose detail. So what this does is it desaturates a little bit or shifts the color a little bit so you can see the detail of whatever it is, but typically you don't need this. And then EXIF data if you want or not, and then export it. And that'll be it. Okay. And William says 5D Mark IV with a 24 to 105 f4 was my first full frame kit. Hated the fixed screen, so I went to the R model. Okay, very nice. Articulating screen is definitely a plus. And okay, I sent one. Red cast appears directly when activating clear view. Happens even more when the red. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Okay, got you. Oops. I'm sorry. I'm reading the text, the chat here from Henning. So we will get into that when I'm done editing, and I'll try and get through the edits a little quicker and talk faster. Heather's a great edit on the forest. Oh, thank you. And John said, I shot this with black and white in mine. Oh, that must be the staircase, right? Very good. Thanks, Rob. I was going to submit a Nikon square crop, but sent in this one. Oh, okay. Nikon cameras, they crop the raw image in camera. So that's kind of what John's talking about here. So we were thinking the same way, right? When we were looking at the composition, I just ended up going more vertical, squarish rather than landscape. Sheep's come in super close and started to bite my. That's funny. And Eric is there. Intrigue is here. Good to see you. Okay, so going back to this image, the only other thing I was just thinking, since we were talking about crops, was, since this butt over here, or whatever that is not really adding anything to the scene, we could we could crop in something like that. That's not bad, actually. Maybe just rule a third it a little bit. We'll put the eye somewhere in the crosshairs. That could be another way to go. And that gets rid of this butt over here. I kind of like that. I like that better. A little tighter crop. All right, let's go over here to Oh, beautiful deer with some flies. Cool. Um, nice composition. Nice haze to it, so it's very bright day. What did you use here? The 300 f4. Okay. Got some stubby horns. All right, so let's apply the preset. And I'm just going to add a little clarity here. Maybe fix this sunspot right here. Or maybe it's just a blade of grass that got caught in the front here. And crop wise, just come in. Maybe just get rid of, just doing something different. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Not really. This body's a little bit out of balance. My problem is there's not enough negative space here on the left side. So that's kind of why I wanted to crop in and see if I could add a little bit more to the left, but I cannot. I get rid of this spot. It's just bothering me. Oh, that's weird. Hold on. Let me turn the feathering down. All right, that's better. Okay. All right, let's work on the deer just a bit. I'm going to select the deer and just add some micro contrast and a tiny bit of clear view. Okay. And then let's work on the eyes. There's a tiny bit of iris in here, but I don't think I'll be able to. So you'll notice when I use the control points, the mask is going into the background. So I'm just going to tighten up the luminosity so it doesn't do that. I don't want to create a halo. And let's just make the eyes nice and crispy. A little bit too much. Probably need to do the nose while I'm at it. Oops. Well, the nose doesn't need any brightening, but it does need just a little bit of clarity. Or clear view. Just a touch in the ears too, in this horn. All right. And then I'm going to select the background. Oops. Let's do AI. I wonder if the select background will work. Yeah, not bad. All right. I just want to add a little bit of depth back here. It's a bit too much. I'm going to back it off. Then let me go back to the deer. Add a little bit of warmth. Something's a little bit off for me. Go back to the background. I'm just thinking the eyes are too much. Okay, let me get a brush, just a regular brush. And yeah, flow 20%. Let me just, gonna add a little bit in here. All right, I'm gonna call it there. You know, some images you don't need to edit much, right? Uh, I just add a little warmth and contrast basically. And I think that works pretty well. Yep, I think that's it. I just had to bring the eyes out a little bit in the face and a little bit of texture into the body. And that's it. All right, let's go to the next one. And okay, we have a egret landing, it looks like. So let's apply preset. I may even go extra sharp with this one. I can always back it off a little bit. Slight horizon shift. I have a little bit of a reflection here. Normally I would like a little more negative space on the right side, but I'm just gonna just center it. I think that works. And then let's go here and make the water darker. And let's mess with the background just a bit. Maybe just blur it a tiny bit. Uh, I'm blurring the bird a little bit, but I just want a little bit less in the background. Make a submask. Let's select the bird. I'm going to move it down. There we go, and hole punch it out. Did I get it? Not quite. What did I do wrong here? Just move that up. All right. That's fine. So let's add a little bit of color. Oops. Sorry. Brand new mask. We use the auto masking tool. Just crank that up a bit. Let me go here. Let's pull out some of the green. Go back to my bird. Just back that off. Add some micro contrast. Okay, a little bit of speculars in the water. Like that. And then let's just brighten up the foreground. So I'm going to put the eyedropper here. Just brighten up that reflection a bit. All right. So there's the original on the left. So we just have to straighten the horizon a bit and then darken the water, basically. And then I tried to add some more detail to the bird itself. And this was just a little distracting, so I just blurred it a little bit extra, that's all. And we can kind of just, let's compare with geometry. And we can, just show off DxO a little bit, the kind of detail you can pull back in, right? And the noise reduction. I think it looks pretty awesome. All right. Let's go to the next one. And I love the look on this gorilla. So let me apply my default. So I think we can make this image a bit moody. I just need to, let me customize. And just work on the spacing. I might even come in. I think that works pretty well. I'm getting tore up by a squadron of mini mosquitoes. They're like microscopic. They're not fleas, they're mosquitoes. It's really annoying. It's almost like a rash. Anyway, let me see. The background could be darker. I want to make this a little bit moody. That's starting to look a little unnatural. I think that's about all I can do. This rock has to be, I have to get this rock. Let me use a control point. In fact, it's clipped. So what I'm going to do instead is do repair. Let me feather this. Let me just blot it out that way. All right, good enough. There's something dropped in front of this guy. Let me feather this. Let me try that again. We need to grab hair kind of going in the same direction. Good enough. All right. No, there's one here. Just a little bit. All right, now this is a little bit bright too. Whoops. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to bring some light in from the right side because you can see there's light here and light all along the shoulder and belly here. And then it's dark on this side. So let me try control line. I'm going to drop this to the brighter part, a little bit tighter on the luma. Even chroma a bit. Okay. We're just going to exaggerate that and add some warmth. Hold on. Let me just exaggerate this a bit. Okay. I'm just doing it to taste here. All right. Let's do another control line. Let's go in this direction. And then put this on the darkest part. Maybe not that dark, but something like that. Is this, wait, I need to, sorry. Yeah, I did that right. All right. Mask 4. Back to the light. May not need both. Let me just turn this off. I think white balance is enough. All right. Do the eyes. I have to do these eyes separately, I think, because one is a lot darker than the other. Okay. And this one. I'm just going to back it off with the opacity. This one, something's a little bit off. There. Just add a little magenta. And a little bit on the lip here. Just use a masking brush. Maybe it's a bit too much. Maybe not. Yeah, just a little. All right. Let's add a vignette. Right there. Oops. Chroma and Luma to 0. Invert. And let's just pull in just a bit more. All right. Let's see where we're at. Did I? Yeah. Just want to adjust the colors a little bit. I'm going to try some different profiles. Oops. Hmm. All right. I think I'll call it there. Not crazy about this corner, but it's okay. So a little tighter crop. Let me go to the original. Well, much tighter crop, I guess, right? Simple rule of thirds. And then made it darker, just to kind of go with the mood. All right. there's a black and white. I don't think it works quite as well because of we have not quite enough separation here. To separate it, I have to brighten up the background again, right? So that's why I didn't go with black and white. I forget which one of these was the background, this one. I would have to brighten this back up to create that separation. I mean, it's one way to go, right? Because Heather asked, how would it look in black and white? Uh, that's one way to do it. But I think because the we have sort of this color, we have the color here separating the gorilla just as much as if I were to adjust the tones. Okay, let's go to here, and we have a fall scene. Apply a preset. Oops, wait a minute. There's a little green arrow right here, so I need to download the optics module. So we can get the optical corrections. EM1 Mark III and 40 to 150. All right. We'll wait for that. Let me see what's in the oh, it's done. All right. So now I can apply, all of my presets here, these three rely on the optics module quite a bit. Okay. So that's that. The question is, my thinking is, do I want to separate these colors a bit? Let me add a little bit of warmth. Or there's definitely red, yellow, green. So we need to, I think composition-wise, I don't need to change anything. I mean, I'm not crazy about the tree being kind of right almost in the center, because it kind of just stands out, right? This one evergreen. But I don't see a way to crop this. I mean, I could put it in the front thirds. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'll work with that. Did I take anything out though that's important? No, not really. None of this is that critical. Just come up a little bit. And I think what I'll have to do is just use this brush. Let's work with the reds first, the auto masking brush. There's a little bit of red in here. All right, so let's pick red. Just saturate those more. Let me see. My mask. Yeah, Let's stretch that out a bit. All right, let's do the yellows. Mm, all right, let's try that. And we'll feather a bit into the reds there. Okay, and then finally the greens. Oh, this guy. It's more of a blue-green, isn't it? Uh, All right. Select green. And I'll shift it all just a tiny bit. Okay, we're almost there. Let me make a new mask. Let me get the water. Just make that just a tad darker. Oops. I'm just double checking that because this looks a little bit off. Let me just add a masking brush. Okay. All right. Let's go to the color. Try. Just looking at different ones. Let's go with vivid, but I'm going to just back off the color in general. Just a little bit. And then add some softening. Okay. Call it there. So I just wanted to separate the colors a little more. I think I can add a little bit of depth with some shadows. Let me just do that. So I'm going to use control points. Let's just do a little bit in here. It's a bit too strong. Hmm. All right, I'm just taking a little bit too far. But yeah, so I got this tree a little bit more off center for the crop. Got rid of the sky while I was at it, and then just saturated the colors individually to taste. And then just add a little bit of depth with the shadows, with control points, and a tiny bit of softening. And that's it. All right, beautiful fall scene. Gosh, when was this taken? October of 2020. Okay. I was going to say it's not really fall, is it? Somewhere in the world, I'm sure it is, but not right now. Okay, let's do the next one here. And let's apply an extra sharp on this one. Let's just come in like that. Uh, yeah, I think a nice tight crop so we can see the details in the eyes. All right, good. Uh, Select the background and just make it a tiny bit darker. I'm going to select the birds and we'll just and some color. And clear view and micro contrast. So let's fix this one eye a little bit. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I just realized the screen wasn't showing. So uh, we started with this image here. So I cropped in, and now I'm just brushing and editing. Okay, this one here is a little bit out of the focal plane. So the question is, do I try to sharpen this so it'll match this guy? I don't think I can sharpen it though. Let me try something. A little bit. Let's try and do some with some unsharp mask as well. It's a bit too much. Okay, that's about all I can do. Let's add a vignette and call it. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, where's my water? This one. All right. So that's the original on the left. That's my edit on the right. I think if you don't look at it too closely, this isn't bad. They're both kind of in focus. But clearly this one is a little bit off the focal plane. This one is right on target, right? And just a crop in a little bit tighter so you can see the finer details. Yeah, this guy is just a little bit out, but it's okay. Then a vignette. And we can compare this to Shakab's edit. He sent his in. So let me use that as a reference. And so Shakab went with a square crop, which works just as well, I think. Either way. But I went with as usual, my edits are very punchy, right? Contrast. So I went almost clipped completely black on mine and add a vignette. But other than that, very similar edit. And then I probably did too much work trying to bring this in. Maybe just leaving it soft like this is okay. But I wanted to bring it in. All right, let's see, one more here. And let's go ahead and apply a preset. And I'm pretty sure I want to crop this 16 by 9. We'll put the moon right in the center. This might be better. So let me center the moon. Then this. Just needs to go up. Okay, that looks centered. Let's go vibrant and just push the colors. Take the moon and just add a little bit of light in here. Clear view, micro contrast. Maybe even stretch that a bit. Okay, I think that's it. So compared to, yeah, the horizontal versus the vertical crop, I think I like the vertical better. Maybe even a little bit narrower. That's a 4x3, right? Let's try a 3x2 and just center it. I like that. A little bit strong on the blues here, but it's okay. It's about right. Let me go back to the colors and just pull the blues back a little bit. And then the oranges up. All right, there you go. Very cool shot. Very, very cool. All right, I think let me just go up to the chat real quick. Great shot editing on the sheep. The sky was outstanding when brought out. Oh, yeah, thanks, Clint. And late to join. That's okay, Shakave. It's always good to see. You can always play it, go back and reverse, right, on these streams. And I just uploaded my edit. Okay, we'll take a look at the what's come in since I started. And I sent 2 edits on the heron, mostly identical just because one is cooler and the other warmer. Okay. And David is here. Oh, you downloaded 9.1. Cool. It works good, as far as I can tell. And oh, that's how to get rid of those halos when accentuating the eyes and beaks. Yes. Just tighten up the luminosity and chroma masks. Rob, I just sent a photo of the tree frog you took with the L10. Hopefully it came out as a RAW file. Okay, we'll see. That's cool. I'm glad you sent that. I took a few shots. Took me a while to get the focus point right, but that's why I switched to the single focus. Eric and I was on a photo walk last week, and he had the L10. I'm still waiting for mine to come in, but he let me take a few shots with it, so I appreciate it. Do you use Film Pack, and if so, what advantage does it give Photolab apart from film emulations? So I don't use Film Pack, but it does add a couple extra things to the DxO Photolab. So let's you want to look at this panel here. In the let me see. So as you alluded to, we do have additional film simulations, right? It says Film Pack, Film Pack, Film Pack, things like that, right? You get a time machine here, which and this might also be, well, no, you can do that without Film Pack, I think. But you get this like this, you can create a specific color profile to your taste. But you can already color calibrate DxO without that. But This gives you direct access to it. And then you get in the contrast, where is it? Oh, it's over here. You get this fine contrast slider added, which, you know, kind of can is actually pretty useful, but I never use it because not everybody bought film pack. But you get this slider, and I think the most desirable thing, other than the film simulations, right? But when it comes to Photolab, if you go in the, is it here? Oh, it's in the local adjustments. Okay, so when you go into the local adjustments, you get the addition of these two buttons here, hue mask and well, maybe not both, but I think you get both of these. Hue mask and luminosity mask. So what I can do is I can select luminosity mask. I should get an eyedropper, and I can pick like the darkest stuff here. So now it's masking by luminosity, which is not too different than what we can already do with control points and control lines, but you get additional control here to feather the luminosity how you want it. Whereas, let me hide this. Whereas, say, if I could pick a control line, I can mask and adjust the luminosity and chroma this way. But with the luminosity masking, you get additional controls here. You can also use the zone system if you want to select different zones this way and edit that way. So, because Ansel Adam used the zone system. So if you want to edit like Ansel Adams, you can use this. And then again, you can kind of feather. So a lot of people buy film pack just for this. And then the color one is kind of the same thing, right? The chroma masking or hue masking. Same thing, but with color, right? You can select different ranges and feather. So for me, I don't use those tools when I'm here editing because not everybody buys film pack. But they are very useful tools nonetheless, you know, for whatever workflow. If you're really what's the word I'm looking for? If your workflow involves a lot of colors, like adjusting and tuning colors and tuning luminosity, those tools are really invaluable and worth the price of admission. That said, me personally, I don't have a workflow that requires or I don't desire that kind of level of control. It's nice because Lightroom does it, so they should just add it to Photolab in my opinion, but you have to buy film pack to get it. But at least we do still have those chroma and luma sliders for the control points and the control lines. That gives me more than enough of what I need. All right, good question. And Egret shot, it's great. Thank you. And thanks, Clint. Oops, wonder how the gorilla would look. Yep, I answered that one. Makes sense on the black and white. Okay, good. I guess we were talking about the gorilla pick. And are all those trees canted over? Are all those trees canted over to the left? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by canted. Uh, sorry, sorry, John. You have to explain that word canted to me. I'm not sure what that means, or if it's a typo. Yep. And then if I use a preset, then do local adjustments. And if I use a preset, then do local adjustments and change the preset, I lose all the local adjustments. Yes. Is this a setting or just the way DxO works? Yes. So what you're saying is when you apply a preset, the preset is going to override any local adjustments like control points, control line. It's just going to use whatever. The preset saves everything. I'm not sure if it saves local control things, but it might. It probably does. But yeah, using a preset resets the entire picture, then applies the specific things that you selected when you created the preset. So it resets the picture, then applies the things. All right. Night of the moon shot was very strange. It went from bright clear moon to almost completely cloud coverage in like 15 minutes. Handheld with G9 Mark II and a 100 to 300 Panasonic. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice image. Yeah, weather can change quick, right? I was doing a sunset and it went from like what I thought was going to be a beautiful sunset to just clouds. I was like, oh. And at the time, the orange copper color beneath the moon was more intense than the raw shows. No idea what caused the color except maybe reflection from the city. Uh, I forget. It's a phenomena of light and diffraction of light through the atmosphere that's causing a lot of that color. Uh, I'm not a atmospheric scientist, but the way I understand it is a lot of the colors that we see at sunrise, sunset is through some diffraction characteristics of light going through the atmosphere. Okay, so the hue mask is there. Thank you for sharing that. So it's the luminosity mask that FilmPack gives you. The hue mask is included. Good to know. Because I have everything installed because they gave it to me. So I have a hard time separating sometimes. And Shikabe says, thank you very much for taking the time to do our photo editing. That also gives us time to spend with you all. Thanks again, Rob. Oh, thank you. No, it's the pleasure is mine to have you guys here, and it's greatly appreciated. And Trevor says, thanks, Rob, for film pack explanation. Very much appreciated. Useful. Still deciding if it's worth the expense to me. It's a tough call. I think Nick Collection is a better choice. It has also film simulations. FilmPack does a better job at matching the original film, but to be honest, trying to digitally match film is impossible. Uh, so just edit to taste to get the film look that you want. I think FilmPack is a good starting point, but so is Nick Collection. Nick Collection has a lot of film simulations built in as well. But you don't get the luminosity mask, uh, which can be very useful. Canted means leaning over. Okay, thank you. So on this image here, if we, so the question was the trees on the left, right? Oh, are all the trees canted to their left? Not really. They look pretty straight, more or less. I mean, as far as trees go. Okay. Doesn't feel like it to me. All right, let me go to the my download folder because you guys said you were sending stuff in. And ooh, a bunch of stuff came in. I'm happy to edit. There's looks like two new ones, or three new ones. Well, the one is Eric. That's kind of my own photo, but there's three new ones here. Uh, so I'm going to download these, and then I need to take a potty break. Whoops. Okay. I think I got them all downloaded. All right. I'll be right back. Give me about a minute. Um, just give me about a 1 or 2 minute break and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Thanks for waiting. Let me see where I downloaded these. I didn't download them into the right folder. Give me a second. I'm gonna move these into, I think it's here. Yeah. Okay. So, and John said not mine, the next tree shot. Oh, okay. You mean Jeff's. They are a little bit tilted, well, to me, to the right. Uh if you're talking about this one. So a slight horizon shift maybe would be in order. Yeah, I can see that now. I don't know. I had to pee so bad. I just kind of I was kind of rushing a little bit. But okay, let's look at some comparisons here. So I think this is um, Williams edit compared to mine. So we'll zoom in. So you kept the full frame versus I cropped in a bit and maybe a little bit too bright. I think I liked a little bit darker, that the darker that you did, something like that. But nice edit. Um, and then this one is Heather's edit, I believe. Very similar crop, but uh, you didn't straighten the horizon, but it looks like you did blur a little bit extra in the background, which is nice. And similar on the speculars, maybe, but one thing I'll note is that when you darken the water, because we both darken the water, here's my edit, right? When you darken the water, brighten up the reflection. Go back and brighten the reflection a little bit. That's kind of the main thing, right? Because I'll put mine as a reference. See the difference? I think it looks better if you can brighten up the reflection when you darken the water. And this is your other edit. Yeah, a little bit warmer than your last one. And you want a little darker in the background as well than I did. So I like this edit better. I liked a little bit more warmth. I took some of the warmth out of the bird in my case. My bird is a little bit cooler overall too. But yeah, nice. Just because I wanted to be more white rather than sort of this off-white in yours. So that's, again, a very subjective choice on my part. But okay. And then this is an edit of the, oh, nice. Compare that to my edit. So that's the black and white done right. Basically, you can select the gorilla and then black in the background, right? So if I can do the same thing, I'll just show you guys, just so you guys know how to do this. So what I'm going to do is just select oops, make a new mask. I can select the gorilla, just brighten him way up, and then go to here and just darken it. Something like that. And then go back to the gorilla and just add the brightening back in and convert to black and white. Kind of the same thing. And then if I adjust the crop, right, we'd have almost the same edit. So I'm doing that just to show you how to do it. And clearly I went with more contrast, right? Whereas this is a little bit less contrast, but more detail. Good job on the eyes, though. Similar edit here on the eyes. And but very different on the contrast on the gorilla itself. Okay, and then let's see. Let's do this. Well, that's my photo that I took. Let's go to let me see if here's one. This is the one with the red shift, right? We'll come back to that. Let's do this one. This looks like one new one here. From Kareen. Okay. So definitely slight perspective corrections I need to do here. I need to download the optics module first. Oh, an XT5, nice. With the newer 16 to 55 2.8 lens, very, very nice. I have the older 2.8, I think. 2.8 to f4. Uh, okay, so let's apply a preset. And actually, I need to adjust the preset because Fujifilm, oh, they didn't, oh, that's, okay. They used to have it separate for Fujifilm, but now it's all in one. That's good. I'm so old school. I haven't used my Fuji in so long. It used to be separate, deep prime for Fujifilm, but now they got it all in one. I think that was an update in version 9.6, a few versions ago. All right, so let's click perspective. Yeah, that almost gets it right. Let me just adjust because I want the street lamps to be straight up and down. So I'm just going to manually adjust it. about that much, maybe a slight tilt. Okay, that feels about right. I'm just eyeballing it. Let's see if the sky has anything I can recover here. I'm gonna select the sky. Now it looks like it's completely fogged out. So do I want it brighter with some warmth? Or, yeah, let's make it a little brighter. And then we'll add a little bit of a glow. Okay, I'm exaggerating it a little bit so I can see where it's going. Let me darken this. And then go back to my control point. Double my just a bit. Okay. We don't really need any warmth. What I'd have to do is make this a lot smaller. Yeah, that's good. Right in there. Something like that. I may tweak this some more later, but okay. Because the train's lights are on. This one is burnt out though. Let me just darken this image. Just a bit. Oh, I need to fix that. The uh, the AI detect miss got some holes in it here. So I'll just use this brush, create a submask, and just fill in these gaps. Okay, I think I got it. All right, then we'll add a little bit of extra light to the front around the headlights. Be smaller. Reduce the chroma luma masking. Good, good. We need more light though. And a little bit cooler maybe. Okay. And then we'll spread some of that light to the tracks. A little bit cooler light. I don't know if that one. Just make these two a little bit bigger. Okay, now this control point is too warm now. I want to adjust this. Let's try 4x3. I want to get one leading line in there. And then we have, it's not quite centered. But up here. Maybe a 5x4. All right. Almost. Almost. Just trying to create a balance here. Okay, that's not bad. Just wanted this gap here to kind of match this gap here more or less. All right, globally we could add a little micro contrast. Maybe a little clear view. Go back and get rid of some of this halo. That's fine, that's fine. Okay, oh, a little bit there. Okay. Not sure. I need to adjust the color just a little bit. That's not bad. I just need something. What if I do that? Yeah. And a little bit on the blue. Okay. So that's my edit. I kind of exaggerated a little bit. This is a little bit too strong still. Maybe back that off. It was this one. Just back that off a bit. There we go. Something like that. But yeah, really cool shot. Really well composed. The original's really well composed as well. Just a little bit of tweaking. I didn't quite get the corner right, but that's the general idea. And then let me do this one, then we'll, because I'm going to look at this red shift problem last. So the L10 is in the DxO database optics module. That's cool. Wait for that to come in, because this will be a quick edit. But anyway, there was this little tree frog down in a tree. It was pretty high up, so I was reaching all the way up to try to get it. But I think let's apply a default preset, and I'm going to come in very tight. Maybe even do a vertical. And then let's see if we can select tree, but deselect the frog. We'll just darken the tree a bit. And then let's select the frog. The frog, yeah, his feet are in here too. So let me see if I can. I'll probably have to use a brush. Let me just do this, and that might be part of the tree, but we'll pretend it's his feet. And then let's do the eye. Oh, I need to make a new mask. Guess I can just use the same brush. All right. And it needs some sharpening. Right, that was the eye. Let me go down to the frog. Just increase the sharpening a bit. And the tree leaves, let's do a mask here, add this. And over here. Okay. And a little bit there. All right. think that is it. Maybe add some warmth. So you sent me the JPEG. It looks like, yeah. Uh, so not bad with the JPEG. If I had the raw image, I probably would have gotten more detail and sharpening out of it. But yeah, I think this crop works well. I like the you know, this angle works, I think. Simple rule of thirds and then change it to vertical, right? And then make the frog stand out a bit more from the tree. Okay. Uh, let's do this one. And I'm going to download the optics module. So this one was something about a redshift when you apply the clear view, if I recall. I'm not sure if you're still here. This was, forget who it was now. One of my regulars here. My memory is so bad. But I think what he was saying is that when I apply the clear view, that's about right. I'm not seeing a red shift. The clear view, okay, so the red shift in the skin tones, this is actually, clear view does a couple of things, right? One is it increases the contrast in general, right? But not only for luminance, but also for color. And that's why we're seeing the red in the face get emphasized, because it's increasing the contrast of the colors as well as the luminance. So I think it's behaving normally. Um, but I'll put these side by side. I'm at 50% on clear view. But you can see it didn't really shift where there's like right here, there's not really any reds, right? So it didn't shift this to red. It didn't shift the greens to red. But if you compare the color, you can see the clear view increase the color or saturation or contrast. To increase contrast and color, basically you saturate it, right? So you can see how it saturated the greens. It's doing the same thing to the reds. So let me know if this is exactly what's happening to you, or if you're getting a more distinct, because if you're seeing a red shift in the greens or up here between the eyes where there's not as much red, like there's very, very little red. Yeah, so yeah, it's not a bug. Uh, so I'm just looking at Henning's comment here. He says exactly that. It makes him extremely red, so it's not a bug, it's a feature. I wasn't sure if I had some issues, but as it's the same on your PC, I think it's the normal behavior. So yes, it's the normal behavior. So you can't look at just the reds, but if you look at the greens, look at, well, the blues is not quite as obvious, but it is doing, let me see if I can line these up. You can see it's the richer blue over here than it is over here, right? But it didn't make this richer. So it's increasing the contrast between these two colors, right? This is actually a little bit brighter than the one over here. So yeah, it's a feature. It's a feature, exactly. Like, look at these. It didn't really do a lot with the yellows here, but it didn't shift the yellows red, right? Because there's no red in there. But everyone's skin tone, especially mine, my face has a lot of red in it. And to demonstrate that, if you like, look at my hand compared to my face. See? See the difference? How much red is in my face compared to my hand? So if I did clear view on my face would get really red and blotchy, but my hand would not, right? My hand would probably be not have as much red in it, but our faces have a lot of red. So our skin is a little thinner here in our face, right? Okay. Anything else in here? I think I got everything. Awesome. We're all done. So you guys, thank you so much for sending your images. I really appreciate it. Support the channel with memberships or donations below, or just buy DxO using my affiliate links. That would be awesome too. But the main thing is, we both get to learn and practice a little from each other. Uh, for me, editing your photos and trying different things, and then hopefully you guys pick up a few ideas along the way. So you guys have a great weekend. Uh, Try to do that every day, right? Have a good day every day is what I like to say, and you'll have a good life. Eat healthy and exercise, because I want us all to be here for a long time and enjoy our passion in photography together. So thanks again for being here.